Yeah, a very good morning to one and all to who are seeing this recording. I'm very privileged to speak with Navneet Kampani, sir. And I hope, Navneet, sir, you're doing well.
Yes, Varun, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be with you on this show today. And yes, it's been a wonderful morning today.
And it was really great to hear that you are living in Dubai with an ideal temperature of 20 to 22 degrees. So, as Rohan was saying rightly, you are a bit envious of your temperature.
Yes, it is. See, we also live here at 52 degrees and
Yeah,
55
yes,
degrees,
yes.
which where we envy you guys
It's a
being there.
mutual.
But yes, we do get some good weather in couple of for couple of months in Dubai for some time.
Okay. Okay, so I had a privilege to definitely read your book, Unmasking the Real You. It was a very interesting and intriguing title to your book, and I received the book from the team and I went through it. And one curious question that came into my mind was, what inspired you to write this book, and what message are you trying to convey through your book?
See, Varun, you are also an author, and as
Mhm.
author, we guys are all inspired by our own experiences, by our own life, by what we see around ourselves. So, this book is basically my own journey of unmasking myself. I
Mhm.
have been in corporate sector for more than 31 years now, and
Okay.
after spending almost 30 years or 29 years in the banking industry, I went into this self introspection, which we were always told in the corporate sector every year,
Mhm.
that self introspect, write your what went right, what went wrong, and all those things. But that is all for paper, not real
Mm.
self
No, it's
introspection
just
as
picture.
one has to be done. So my inspiration, in short, is basically my own experience, where I dived little deep in myself and I started to unmasking myself or peel myself like an onion to see what is me real inside. So that is where the book came out to be, Unmasking the Real You.
Okay.
It was my first ever book, so probably it's very simply written in my own words. I have put in whatever I could put in it to make the readers know about my journey from self realization to action, that how I progressed in my life while writing this book.
Okay. That's a very good take. You are absolutely right, because when they talk about self introspection, especially at the end of every year, it is just on paper. It is nothing more than a tick in the box. So it's really nice to hear about this. And coming to the second question, specifically on page 15 of your book, you emphasized sequence or specific sequence from awareness to thought and then action. And what do you think, or rather, how awareness fundamentally drives actions? And can you just illustrate this with some specific example in your life?
See, we are all aware of what is
Mm,
happening around us, but we are the most ignorant person on the
mm,
world. We are aware of
where,
good, bad, ugly, best. What is good for us? What is best for us? What could be good for us? What could be best for us? But we are ignorant on a lot of things. And that is where the sequence is so important, that if you are aware, truly aware, then your thought should reflect that awareness. And if your thought will reflect that awareness, your action will reflect both the thought and awareness. But if you see ourselves in our personal life and our professional life, which is what I call pro-per life, proper, pro and per life, professional and personal life, we are aware of lot of things in our professional and personal lives, but our thoughts are not aligned to our awareness. Think about it. In a professional world, you've also authored a book which relates to corporate sector. In corporate sector, we are aware what we are doing, but we are doing contrary to our awareness because our thoughts are driven by the influences around us. Our thoughts are not influenced by our own personal awareness. Our thoughts are influenced by our surroundings. And that is where our action is completely different from what it should have been. So, this was my first realization. And that is where I put it as my first chapter, that if you are aware of certain thing, then you need to ask yourself what path to take, because God has given us free will to choose our path. And I always give this example. It's a very small example, and millions of people have done that and lived that moment. But for me, it was a very special moment that I used to smoke a lot. I was aware that this is harmful, but still the thought was no, I have to. The day I had that realization of awareness, a true awareness, again, I will stress on that true awareness. We are all aware, but that true awareness is very important. When I had that thought of true awareness, my thought changed completely. And the moment my thought changed, it took me 1 second to drop it. And it's been 3 years now, it is dropped. Now you correlate this particular example to corporate sector also. When you are in corporate world, when you are in a CXO position, when you are managing people, you are aware of what your action will lead to consequences, but you still go ahead and do that. So the choice is yours, that you need to take that choice or you are not supposed to take that choice. And probably a time came in my life where I said, I will not take that choice in my life and I will move on. And that is where the book came in, and that is where the sequence I always say that stop, think about your thought.
Hmm.
What is influencing your thought?
Your thought. Very true. Very rightly said. Thank you. Thank you for this wonderful answer. We'll move on to the third question. And moving on in your book, specifically on page 27, you had mentioned a survey wherein only 15% feel that they manage their lives very well,
Yes.
especially the personal and the professional life, as per the Gallup
Yes.
finding. What do you
Yes.
think is contributing to such widespread struggles in both personal and the professional life?
Because our culture, because our culture. And I would put it, I would put it in nutshell on the influences around us. This is all the cause of our influences. And it is not just one survey. I can, after this call, probably I can send it across to you as well. There's a recent survey I was reading which has been done by Financial Times, and Financial Times has talked about the corporate mental health deteriorating substantially globally. That's a global survey done. And what is leading to this is again a sequence of how we get influenced in our life, and that influences lead to the choices in our life, and those choices leads to desires in our life, and those desires lead to the stresses in our life. So it all starts with the influences. And I am almost there in my second book, and I'm going to talk in a very deep manner on this subject of influence, that how these influence uh, impact our thoughts, how these thoughts impact our desires, how these desires impact our mental health. Because if you achieve your desire, you're very happy. If you achieve your desire, you are very happy, and that leads to more desires. And those desires, this sequence of desire after desire after desire, is what we define as our passion. Till the time everything is going good, it is my passion. I want to do this. I want to achieve this. I want to get this. That's a wonderful feeling. Now, the moment this desire is unfulfilled, a contrarian feeling comes into your mind. So what happens is you lose your calmness, you lose your evenness of temperament, and that causes all the clutter in your mind, that your mind starts thinking. Now, I just wrote something few days ago, and I call it five C's of mental state. If you can manage these five C's, or they're automatically manageable. If you look at these C's, they're very simple C's. The first C is calmness. If you are calm, you have clarity of thought. If you are not calm, this clarity is not there. If you have clarity, you have conviction. If you have conviction, you have confidence. And that confidence gives you the courage to execute the task in a manner. So, mm, it's all about how excited and how passionate you are. It sounds very good. You can be calm and still be passionate about things. You can have an evenness of temperament. You can be very stable and still be passionate about what you are trying to do. This is very important. So these influences, the desires, etc., they are one of the main reasons where our corporate sector is struggling, and our corporate structures are not driven by the culture of stability, by the culture of growth. The growth in our corporate sector all revolves around maximizing the shareholders' value.
Value. Very true.
Yeah. Yes. So this is the reason for why we professional, and we are to be blamed. Leaders. I was one of the leaders to be blamed for the chaos that probably I might have caused in lives of multiple people that worked for me. Because at that point in time, my objective was not to, you know, my objective was the
Shareholder
quote
value.
unquote.
Uh, but just in hindsight, what do you think you could have done better now that you have realized, these points over your 30 years of experience? Do you think that being a rationally dominant person would be the first step to developing courage, or is it more than that? You still need to follow the five C's.
See, you asked two questions me here.
Yes,
What could I have done differently? I
definitely,
would
yes.
have done everything differently, because what I did was not the right path to take, but I was forced to take that right path. Now, when I say I was forced, I still had the free will to say yes or no. If I would have said no, probably I would not have been very proudly saying that I was 30 years a banker, probably I would have been thrown out of the banking industry or the corporate sector in the very first few years itself. But so be it. Now, if you look at on the hindsight when you are saying, so be it. Can we balance between the two? Yes. And that is where what I would have done is I would have balanced things more critically than I did. I would not have been. So the answer to your question is what I would have done differently is I would have balanced both sides for the corporate sector, for people working under me, for under my leadership. I would have created a much more balanced environment for where people could flourish under my leadership. It's not that nobody flourished under my leadership. There are multiple people who really grew under me, but I could have done more. As simple as that. Second thing is there are the courage coming out of clarity and confidence and calmness is very different from courage coming out of unclear circumstances and unruly circumstances. That's also a courage. uh, taking taking an all-out war is also courage, and calmly managing things through diplomacy is also courage. So I would say again, the ultimate goal one should have in any kind of circumstances is to strike the balance. Is to strike the balance. Look at our universe. Look at our universe. How beautifully balanced it is.
Very true.
And we are part of this universe. We also
Universe.
follow the same laws of nature. But who creates this unruly or uh, imbalanced environment? We imbalance the environment. So that is where I always say I'm mastering the art of balancing my personal life and growth.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this answer. And moving on to the next question. Now, you must have obviously heard of the recent controversy at Ernst and Young, wherein unfortunately a girl lost her life due to workplace stress. So,
Yes.
what do you think are the transformative changes that every organization needs to establish and enforce so that this, glorifying of hustle culture and toxic work cultures becomes a thing of the past? What do you think needs to be done?
See, first and foremost, a very unfortunate incident that happened should not have happened.
Hmm.
Now, we need to differentiate between companies and the people in those companies. So, without naming any organization, I would say organization is defined by the people in the organization. The organization strategy is defined by people at the top. Organization itself is a structure. It has nothing. It has no life. It has got no core. There is no soul. It's a body without a soul. Who brings in that soul? That soul is first brought in by the promoters of the company. From one promoter it becomes multiple promoters, and then we have the corporate board of directors. From board of directors you have the CXOs, the management teams. From management teams to the senior management team, mid level manage. So the body, the soul of the body, the moment the soul comes in, with the soul comes in the ego. Now I'm bringing in little spirituality into it, the way we were. So spirituality in corporate sector, so I'm trying to bring little spirituality here. So your soul, When a company is established, your soul is very pure, very clean, that this is the objective of this company. We have to go work, we have to employ people, we have to serve people, we have to be customer centric, we have to take care of our customers, our clients, we have to grow. So at that point in time, there is a lot of clarity and purity. And then comes greed and desire. Then that pure soul gets attached by the I, the ego, and that creates a pseudo soul. Now, this pseudo souls objectives are contrary to the real soul's objective. And that is where things change. What needs to change here is us, the people who are the soul of the organization, who are the soul of the corporate sector. If we change ourselves, everything will change. What will happen? Tell me what will happen if I am not able to complete the work yesterday. Let's look at a very practical example. The world was running when there were no aircrafts. The world was running when there were no cars. We were still running the organizations who are 200-year-old or 300-year-old when there were no mobiles, no computers. I entered banking industry where I was where my first training was in the check clearing department in the operations. We used to sit and write manually all the checks and then send it to RBI the next day. The world was still running, and it was efficient even at that point in time. It's not that it was less efficient then, less efficient now, or whatever it is. What will happen? Nothing will happen if it gets delayed by one day. Why stress so much about who brings in this stretch? We, our own greeds and desires to grow. If my boss says that I have to do 10x 10, and if I do 20, I will get more bonus. So again, I come back to the same thing, that your own choices, your own desires, in order to achieve my own personal desires, I will put someone under me into immense pressure that I need to get this done today because I have irrationally promised my boss that this work will be done as of yesterday. And I am very well aware of the situation that it may not be possible to complete it within the 8 working hours that me and my team have. We have our own human limitations. But no, I will go beyond the means in putting stress on my people in my team that no, it has to be done. That you see, it's all a huge chain reaction, huge chain reaction. But the soul of a company is people. Mr. Narayan Murthy says we have to work 70 hours a week. Okay, fine. He can work for 70 hours, but not probably the others because we are all different. We're all different. We all are different people. You can't put everybody into the same time zone and say, no, I want everybody to work at 70 hours. Think about it. Think just rationally. I'm not saying I'm not against the thought, or I don't even want to challenge the thought of such a prominent person, and probably he would have his own rationale. Uh, what makes him believe in this thought of 70 hours? Because if you work 70 hours a week, where is your personal life?
There's no personal life at all.
Yeah, where is your own personal passion? How do you
Nothing.
identify yourself? I used to identify myself as banker. I am not banker. I am Navneet Kampani.
No company.
I have so
True.
many things in me, in my personal capacity.
Very true.
We forget everything.
Very
Our
right.
identities become our identities become our corporate identities. And that is where my second book is all about the questions that we never dared to ask ourselves when doing a self introspection. And soon,
Introspection.
in the first quarter of 2025, I'll be releasing my second book, where I'll be talking about some of the questions, some of lot of questions that we never dared to ask ourselves. Forget
Yes.
about others. Others, we always keep asking questions. What do you do? How do you do? Where did you do? Where did this come from? How could you not do it? Who are you? Ask yourself first. If you can answer that question, everybody will be able to answer that question.
Answer the question. Very true.
So Varun, if I may just ask you, what was your thought when you wrote your book? I haven't read your book, to be very honest, but I would love to read that book. What was your thought when you wrote your book?
Yeah, it is very similar to what you said. It's when all my experiences in the corporate sector, I've been working as a IT governance risk compliance specialist over the past 10 years. I was a software developer, and I had very similar experiences to you, wherein the focus was on maximizing shareholder value, on profits. There was a complete disassociation with employees of any company who were another important stakeholder as the customer. It is not always that the customer is king. How is the customer getting his services and his products? It's the employees who are working day in and day out to deliver those. Without the employees, the customer is not going to get the service. If you're not
No,
going to, you're not going to treat your employees as your customers. How in the world will the company? How will the company grow, and how will the customer experience delight through services? And that is the question no one was asking. They were just doing, as you rightly said, what the boss says we have to do. Complete disconnect with what the organization wants. Just have to come and do what my boss says, and that's it. There was no meaning only left in the workplace culture, and that's where I felt I should write this book,
very
Corporate Governance.
beautifully said. There was no meaning left. It
Meaning
is a
left,
meaningless corporate sector.
corporate sector.
Meaningless corporate sector. Though we define it as what I told Rohan, it is an organized chaos. So the
Yes.
underlying has to change. The underlying
And
has to change.
and you were very right when you said earlier that it is the people who drive the organization. So only if people change will the organization culture truly be lively, and you'll find a lot of bonhomie between people, which is sadly missing across many
Yes.
organizations. Going on to probably the last question, I somewhere I think I came across your several chapters wherein you spoke about the influence that Swami Yogananda ji had in the 20th century. So,
Yes.
had you, if probably he had been alive now, what do you think he would have told the world, and what his emphasis and focus areas would have been if had he been alive now?
See, he's still alive. He
Yes, he's
just
still
he just is operating from
a
the
different place.
astral world,
Yes,
different plane. He's still
yes,
alive.
yes.
He's one of those evolved individuals who left his physical self and moved on to the astral, and probably he's operating out of the causal world, but he's still alive. And his experiences and teachings are all extremely practical.
practical.
But unfortunately, we do not read such things which come out from our saints and scriptures, thinking that these are religious, but they have got nothing to do with any
Nothing to do with
religion.
religion. Very true.
Yeah, if Robert Kiyosaki can write Rich Dad, Poor Dad, we all read it because it is coming from an individual who have experienced, but we don't realize what is the background of that. The background of that is all coming from multiple scriptures which are followed in various
Various
religions.
religions,
Uh,
yeah.
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Yoganandji was very clear that it is all about you. And that
You.
is where the unmasking the real you came from there. It is all about you.
Mm.
What do you want? What is
Mm.
your purpose of life?
That's
What
right.
are your pursuits? What are your desires? It's all about you. You can make a world around you very happy. You can destroy the world around you.
Mm.
So he would have said exactly the same things because the truth never changes.
Changes.
The truth is truth, one
Truth.
and only truth. The one and only truth is the highest power who created. That is the truth. So the truth never changes. Even if he would have been in our generation or any generation that he may come, and probably he might come again or keep coming, we don't know in what form and physical form that he would be there. But he would say the same thing
Same.
again and again because that is the truth. And I have been reading him. I would say I have been reading him for last 3 years, and some of the most important learnings of my life actually came from his books. And there is no denial about it that these are all extremely practical books. Just give me 1 second. I always keep them on my desk. So this is the first one that transformed me. The autobiography of the yogi, and then the man's eternal quest is the another book that goes without saying, and then the divine romance. These may sound very philosophical or religious or godly. They are extremely practical books, extremely practical books. And uh, the last but not the least, which I am currently onto it, is what he's written. God talks with Arjuna, the Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavad Gita. So the God talks with Arjuna. And for me, that is my guiding philosophy now, though I'm still a learner. I've just started. I'm nowhere closer to what God spoke to Arjuna, but I'm trying to figure out that. And that's where I think that has made me much calmer. That has made me much more aware in my own self, and it's all about me at this point in time. And my pursuit of writing these books is to touch as many lives that as I can through conversations like we are having today, or through my writings, or through the lectures or the podcast. I'm not trying to change the world. I'm not trying to change the world. If I can change myself, there are 10 people around me that will change automatically. I have to change myself. The moment I try changing someone else, I follow a different path which no one accepts it. No one will accept me if I try to change their path. And that's what even Arjuna, even Krishna told Arjuna, you don't have to change anybody else's path. You change your path and you touch others in such a way that they change their path by following you.
So true, so true. I also read the three books that you have mentioned, and it has deeply impacted my life. And it's really heartening to see someone who has read these three and four, rather the four books, including God Talks. But that last book which you mentioned is something which I'm still reading, and each time you read that, even one single chapter, you get a different meaning altogether, and you start
Yes.
getting answers to questions that are troubling you. It's
Yes.
amazing that you, even
Yes.
100 years after he has, probably half a century after he has passed away, still his teachings are so timeless and relevant even now.
Absolutely, absolutely timeless. You rightly said timeless. Because they are the truth. They are the truth,
True,
and the truth is timeless.
timeless. And I think he has mentioned in God Talks with Arjuna, or in one of his personal discussions with one of his disciples, that many people would reach God realization and self realization by reading his God Talks with Arjuna book. I think
Yes.
that is something we need to see over a period of time. So it's an
See, one has
amazing
to start. One has to start the journey
touch
somewhere.
John somewhere. Yeah,
Yeah. And I think we are both proud of this very fact that we've started this journey of our
journey
own.
own. Very true. Very true. Thank you so much, Navneet sir. It has been great talking with you, and I hope you enjoyed
Thank you, thank you,
this.
thank you so much, Varun. Thank you,
Thank you
thank
so
you,
much. Thank you so much.
thank
Thank
you.
you.